Because in Dutch we say Dirk, and I've known quite a few Dirks at school. So.
Am I creating any feedback or anything?
No, you're fine. It's perfectly fine. It's,
okay.
Morning, folks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, we've got to say that. So I'll just introduce you. Mike Dirk has been asking me a whole bunch of questions, very interesting questions. I think I might actually write up a blog post with the answers because I think they might be useful for other people. And then Rob is Jeff, he's trying to get his webcam to work this time, and to do the whole feedback dance that we all have done one time or another. So, how are the festivities? Everyone had good holidays?
Well, I'll be right back. I seem to have frozen.
Oh, well, we can still see you, but...
Well, you guys are all still live. Be right back.
Cool, okay.
Yeah, me too. I croaked. I'll be right back.
Oh, I seem to be doing just fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, I can see everyone move. And I'm still moving.
How's the feedback on you now?
You're very faint. I've got trouble hearing you. I'm sorry.
It's okay. The camera's really quite a long ways away from me.
Ah, that's probably why.
Yeah.
You might in the settings you might be able to increase the gain of the microphone.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So
okay. Hey, Antonio. Oh, are you back, Mike?
Yeah, I'm back.
Is that your doorbell?
No.
Okay. I heard doorbell. Happy New Year, Antonio. There he is. He's saying the same thing. Yes. So, Jeff, you were asking about the breath pipe?
yeah.
Yeah, what in particular was there anything in particular that you were wondering about?
I just have not yet seen how it works in conjunction with the other controls on the alpha.
Right. So basically, I'm trying to get back because I've been really doing totally different stuff for 2 weeks. So let me see if I can open up something here. I can't remember exactly what all these things do. Let's see if I can open up this audio units. That will not do anything with. I can try this one. So I'm gonna share. Try to share a bit of my screen here. Hang on. Share this. Can you see that window being shared, Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Okay, so that is what we call a routing matrix. It kind of gives you a visual view over how you can map different controls of the Eigenharp to parameters of an audio unit of VST plugin. So this is kind of a visual way of doing things, but there are a bunch of non-visual ways that allow you to do more powerful things. But this is quite intuitive. So let's say that. So I'm playing. Let me see what I'm doing here. So I can't quite remember how I set this up. Oh, okay, so the sustain pedal is currently mapped to my pedal 1 input here. You can see that. So there is a green square. If I click on it, I can let it go, or if I click again, it reappears, right? So this means that the pedal signal goes to sustain pedal. And I've got a sustain pedal under my desk here, so when I press it, right, it works. Now I can say I don't want to use the pedal for this. This means when I now press the pedal, it doesn't sustain. But I can say, okay, I actually want to use a breath pipe to do sustain. So I just clicked on the intersection of breath and sustain pedal, right? And now I can do, by blowing, I do the actual sustain, right? And this can be used to any degree by, you can map it to anything you want. Let me try this. I haven't actually tried this yet. Breath to pitch bend. Right? So this just mapped breath to pitch bend for the whole instrument, and you can just try whatever you want with this, and see how you do it. Actually, this is quite nice because you can hear the resolution of the Eigenharp.
You're just controlling that.
Yeah, just by blowing here. Yeah. And then, so this is a basic mapping. You can see me dismiss a window. I'm not sure if you can see that window now popping up now.
You have to show the whole screen, Geert.
Yeah,
if you show the whole screen, that window will see shown.
You don't want my whole screen.
Okay.
No, it's basically because it's a huge screen. It's
yeah.
Let me see. Let's change it. I can't actually.
So okay, I can talk to that too, because I was using the breath pipe for something a little different. This is just the sound in the room, so it may or may not sound like helpful. First, can you hear this?
Yes.
So you can hear that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's Mrs. Sachs from Sample Modeling. And it really comes set up to use the breath pipe blow as sort of an aftertouch. But I prefer to use the pressure like this. And so I use the pitch bend. I use the roll to either get subharmonic or tonguing. And I use the breath pipe to do overblown. Or to do a fall down by sucking. So you can apply it to anything. Now, I could put the pressure back onto the breath pipe, but there's not much point. And you can get quite a natural, I don't know if you can, let's see, I don't know if I can play it holding it up like this, but. So you can do quite natural things with the keys. And that happens to be a pretty good plug-in.
Hey, Drachika. Happy New Year.
Hello.
Happy New Year, Drachika.
I seem to be frozen also. Oh,
Happy New Year to you all.
Yeah, strange.
So I don't know, was that helpful?
No, very interesting.
So, Dirk, did you have any other questions after the replies I sent you?
Just from listening just now.
Okay.
Can I tweak anything from the keys? So, like you were doing some configuration there in the matrix. Can I do those kind of things too?
Yeah. Let me see if
at runtime. Like I can tweak sounds, but can I tweak assignments?
Yeah. Let me.
Like
just
could I tweak what my breath pipe does at runtime?
At runtime, you mean without touching the computer while you're holding the instrument? Is that what you're asking about? Yes, you can, but this either requires you to learn Belcanto, which is the underlying language, where you can put the instrument into a Belcanto speak mode, which requires you to learn to play Belcanto, which is not easy. I've never actually taken the time to do it. A few people have been able to get that to work proficiently, but it takes quite some dedication. Another option is to set up a whole bunch of configurations that you like to use and to switch between them, which is probably less error prone during a performance. Another thing you can do is to use a stage application on the iPad or the iPhone, and to kind of get an alternative means of control that is not tied to the keys, but it's like an extended set of knobs that you can configure any which way you like. I can maybe not sure if I have a stage tab set up here. Let's see what it is.
And I could do all that through MIDI CC too, right? So I could script all that in Belcanto and then trigger that.
Yes, but you will probably spend quite a long time if you want to control EigenD through MIDI CC.
Okay.
So coming in, it is possible, but there are no real facilities to make that easy for you. So you'll be going down the Belcanto lane for that. So this is an example of stage with some tabs that are set up that you can basically use. This can be running on your iPad,
right.
So you can kind of reconfigure things. And this is fully configurable. You can say, okay, actually I don't want this there. I want this there. And I want this there, and I want to. You can create new controls and just tie them to anything that's in the EigenD system, and have this running on your iPad, so that you don't want to use up. A lot of people don't want to use up the fine-grained control of the keys, expressivity for just simple on-off switches. So then you can use a touchscreen for simple on-off switches and have the keys there for actual playing.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of EigenD has been designed to allow you to do a lot of crazy stuff if you want to do that. So the idea is, what I can maybe do is I'm allowed now, so I'm gonna quit my version of EigenD that's running, and I'm gonna start the experimental 2.0 version with something new that's called Workbench. Let me see. So Workbench is kind of the visual way of working with Belcanto. So I just launched it, and let me share that part of the screen. So see, it's gonna work. There we go. So this is Workbench. It's a similar layout as Stage, but it actually allows you to connect agents together. And agents are the basic building blocks of inside EigenD. So the way this works is, so you will not see the dialog windows popping up, sadly. But I can create a new agent. So now I'm going to create an alpha manager agent, which is able to talk to the alpha keyboard. So it detects it, and it detects the alpha keyboard. And if you expand this, you can see everything, all the signals that are sent out from the alpha instrument. This is the same for the pico or the tau, right? So it will detect those keyboards and have those signals present. And then it's up to you to actually use those signals and to route them anywhere you want. So a typical standard setup would put a key group after this. And so you can say, okay, I actually want to connect everything that matches up from the keyboard to the key group. And then you've got the signals just connecting through. And if you want to put something in between here that routes a signal elsewhere, or that munches the data, or that filters it for a specific set of keys and then controls something else with those specific keys, it's all possible. So
I sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Could you go the other way as well?
In
So like in Keygroup, could I inject something from something else, like say Max MSP or something?
Well, as I replied to you in the emails, you can, if you're a programmer, and I have a suspicion that you are, then you can write your own agents and interact with whatever you like. The model has been very stable, the agent model, for a couple of years now, which is basically a Python wrapper that describes the inputs and the outputs to the external world and the data types. And then the underlying implementation is usually C++ for performance. And if you want to talk to any widget device, get data to it or from it, and then output it as an output, then it will just appear here as an agent, and you can connect from the output to anything you like. So yes. And I think that, as time goes by, since we have our first developer conference in a week and a half now, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, Drachika. She's gonna come over. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Then I think a lot of people, there's so many motivated people out there now, will start creating fun stuff just for you to experiment with. And then probably publish those as open source. Then Tony also, of course. I can see your face, so it says you're not there. And yes, so a lot of those will probably be published as open source so that people can customize those, use those as examples. There are a couple of examples already quite heavily documented now in the Git repository. So I think that it's going to be a very interesting year actually. Now that Workbench is out and people can visually see what they've created and hook it up. So yeah, if you want to go further with this, if you want to build a whole setup, so you just build a scale. Usually you build a scaler after this. Create one output because if you want to output key data from the Keygroup, you want to create an output. So connect the output to the scaler, and the scaler. Let's say that I want to connect this to an audio unit. Connect this to an audio unit. And then, typically, you put a console mixer at the end, because the audio you want to mix the audio from the audio unit in different channels. So, let me see here. I probably want to select which audio unit first. You can't see that pop-up dialog, sadly. PianoTeq, let me use that again. No, Modart, that's the company name. PianoTeq. So I've got the audio unit loaded now, which means that it also decided on the MIDI channel, on the audio channels that it likes to use. So here you've got 2 audio outputs, and I can connect those audio outputs to a mixer channel. And then the final step is just to create the audio output agent. But this is all not necessary. If you don't want to output any audio at all, then you don't have to create that. And then I can just go from the outputs here, connect those up. And then if I select, I have to go to here and select my audio device. And I just built myself a simple setup. So this kind of took me 2 minutes to create something from scratch that makes sound. And then you can start doing, okay, if I want actually, let's see here, breath and output to be connected to, let's see here, scalar. So I got global pitch bend input, for example. So if I say breath output is global pitch bend input. So I just connected that up. Right? So this really allows you to do basically anything you want. And thanks to the agent model, it is very, very extensible.
And these are all software constrictions based on my computer, not based on the Eigenharp, right? So if I wanted to drag 12 different audio unit agents onto there, I could, as long as my computer and memory and all that good stuff supported it.
Exactly.
And I could still trigger that magic from my Eigenharp.
Yes.
Or whatever else I orchestrated in here.
Yes. Yes. So the idea is that the Eigenharp keyboard here is basically spewing out the data at the highest possible resolution and bandwidth. So that's something that goes on through the entire system. There is no decimation going on at all until you actually decide to do so. Which means that if you just build regular stuff, you will get all the fine-grained details of the Eigenharp keys being passed on through all the agents. So it gives you all that expression everywhere. And then there's something else. I'm not going to detail that in detail, but you can create rigs. This is something that's going to be a next step we're developing. And a rig is basically a self-constrained piece of functionality of agents that are coupled together. So people will be able to share those. They're already stored as separate files, but they're not handled. The export and import is not that streamlined yet. But this will be something that will be coming in the next version. So basically, if someone wants to build a collection of agents that's, let's say, does a modular synth, then it can package this up inside a rig and just send out that rig description file, and other people can open that up and have that whole, connection set up integrated in their own setup, and they can use it as if it's a packaged standalone instrument. So that will make it very easy for people to experiment and share more advanced things without having to understand necessarily every little bit of detail, but still be able to enjoy things that more technical minded people have found out or experimented with. So that was that. So yes, and then maybe this would be fun to show. Let's see, because I'm back to camera. Let me go back to Workbench. So you can see here that I've got actually none of the lights are actually lit up. Let's see, Workbench running again. So you've got this mechanism that allows you to pick the order in which the keys are actually being detected by EigenD of the Eigenharp. It seems to have a huge amount of latency on this webcam now. I don't know why. Hello. It's not changing. It's not going to help much. Well, well, there you can see it. It's sending out one frame every 10 seconds apparently. So you can see that all the keys are lit up red at the moment, and then I can go over and select the order in which the keys are actually being played by just going over the keyboard and selecting the keys on there. Yeah, but if you can't see it in real time, it will not be that helpful. But you can basically draw little patterns with the keys and visually select the arrangement of the keys. So if you want to draw it upside down, then you can play the keyboard upside down, or if you want to surprise yourself and not look at the keyboard and just do something totally random and then try to get creative with that. It might be very interesting. So yes. So that's that. Does that sort of answer your question, Dirk?
Yes. Yeah. Every answer gives me 14 more questions. How cool
just go ahead. Go ahead.
Are all the LEDs, can you interact with them independently of your interaction with the keys?
Yes, but there is something you have to
be... I can block off, like if I'm doing a performance and I want to block off the first 5 or 6 rows and send messages to my audience. I could do that, right?
Yes, you can do that, but there's something you have to be aware of, is that we reserve real-time performance for the musical part. So the lighting information is actually done in a non-priority thread, which means that there can be some lag or scheduling going on there. That, if you kind of do like this, many people want to do that, this crawler kind of thing. I want to have text scrolling through it. Well, it can stutter because there is nothing guaranteed about the real timeness of the LED updates. They will be as quickly as possible, but sometimes they will be, a fraction of a second later, which is fine if you're just using them once in a while. But if you're kind of using them as pixels, then you can see it. So
okay,
yeah, there's something we have to do. Otherwise, it becomes too processor intensive to also do that in real time, and you lose much of the CPU power that would be available for the actual audio playing. So
right.
So there's a split in the system. There's what we call slow land, which is what the lights and switching setups and switching splits and things that you don't typically do at 2,000 times a second. And then you've got fast land, which is real time performance.
Okay.
Well, Jeff, did you have any other things you were wondering about?
No, not right at the moment. It's just been very interesting listening to other people's questions and seeing where those questions go, because where I am at right at the moment is mostly not even knowing which questions to ask, but just the amazing potentiality of the instrument and the software.
Right. Well, it's cool. I'm very glad to hear that. Yeah, there's one thing that I've said this a number of times already on the Hangout, but I don't think you guys were there. But it's one thing that I constantly keep in mind. It's a sentence that John Lambert said in one of the early interviews, and that is one of the design goals that he always wants to be present is that it has to be possible to break it. It has to be possible for the user to do any kind of weird thing that he can come up with. If that's not possible, then the electric guitar would never have gotten distortion. And we would never have gotten rock music and all kinds of derivatives from that. So if a musical system is constrained and streamlined into one direction, then it kind of, it basically kills the creativity of the system. And it becomes a single-purpose appliance instead of a musical instrument. And that's certainly so for the software. And that's why EigenD is, in one hand, so complex, and it has taken a while for us to get to the stage at which Workbench is now, where this can be visually modeled. So, and I think that's a very interesting approach. You have to be able to break it. It doesn't always make it easy in terms of customer support, though. But
So could you play a little bit of flute or something like that?
A little bit of what? Flute? I don't have a flute set up at all. So this is probably one of the things that everyone struggles with at one point or another when playing or starting with the Eigenharp, is that there are so many possibilities and so many sounds and so many instruments that you can play with it. And you actually spend quite a while, most of the time, if you pick an instrument that exists, like a plugin or whatnot, undoing what has been created by the plugin maker, because a lot of people are used to playing it on regular keyboards, and there are a whole bunch of automated scripts set up so that it simulates the phrasing of a musician and kind of artificially injects expression and articulation, which is counterintuitive when you play it with the Eigenharp. So you kind of spend a while undoing all those and trying to get it in a state where you can directly control all those parts. So I can look for a flute, but I'll probably be searching for a little while before I find something that that feels comfortable. But I can do it if you guys start doing some stuff. Any woodwind.
I have one loaded.
Have you got one loaded?
I've got a real cheesy sound font, I think. I'll find out. Yeah. Let me turn it up. Whoops. And I got my Brahma singing voice loaded too.
Oh, that
so
wasn't
this
you.
is.
That wasn't you. I was like,
no,
what he's doing? Ah. I was like,
so this is a Chinese flute and a Celtic flute that crossfade with pitch bend. So I guess I got some delay set on that. Now, as Geert was saying, is Geert gone? Oh,
no, I'm still there.
Yeah. As Geert was saying, I'm one of these people who really likes really simple sounds and tends to start disconnecting everything on an AU. And those two sound fonts are converted from GarageBand sounds. And they're terrible. I mean, if you play them in GarageBand, they are truly, truly terrible because they're just completely flat, no expression, no articulation of any kind. but when you stick them on an Eigenharp, all of a sudden you get to play the expression as opposed to just trigger it, as you do in a lot of samplers. And I just want to sort of re-emphasize what Geert was saying. And in fact, Ferdinand and I just had a great discussion. He pointed to a really, really nice string library whose name escapes me. Geert, do you remember? Did you see that?
I saw it, but I can't remember. It wasn't kind of. It was a promotion where it was. I don't know how many percent off. Right?
Anyways, it's a great string library. If you play it on a standard keyboard, it does a marvelous job of figuring out articulations that a typical string player would use, and it just sounds wonderful. And then we spent the next couple of days trying to figure out how to turn that all off and allow ourselves to play using the pitch and yaw and pressure controls, which is in some ways a bad thing to do. I mean, you don't gain the experience of the original person who sampled typical string instruments. So perhaps it sounds, I mean, part of getting a string sound is actually playing it with authentic articulations as opposed to other things. So, for example, pitch bend is something you really have to play with to get a reasonable vibrato. You have to play with the curve and the amount, and pretty much give up actual pitch bends if you want to have something that sort of, sounds like somebody actually got their finger on a string and is moving it slightly. But it was a lot of fun, and Ferdinand put a lot of work in helping me get it set up, or unset up, I guess, is what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah. So you like that string library? Have you gotten it to a place where you're happy with it?
I don't. If you go to Ferdinand's discussion on G+, which I think is shared with anybody in his Eigenharp circle, or I can share it with you.
Yeah, I think.
He's got a great. He's got an MP3 that he uploaded that really shows him playing with just the keyboard expression, and he does a really good job of it.
Oh, really?
I really like the sound of it. It's a monster, though. I mean, the solo strings alone, without the rest of the orchestra, are 6 gig.
Right. Yeah.
So if you think EigenD can be a little slow to load, I tend to start that loading in Kontakt and just go way. I mean, I actually thought Kontakt had hung.
Right.
At one point.
I know those samples take a long time to load. That's just the built-in clarinet. So.
And what happens when you use the breath tube?
I'm not a really good breath player. But you can tongue, you can do the typical breath expressions. It will pick up the slightest bit of intonation that you put in there. So.
Yeah, Geert, so my question is this something I should be able to do, and I'll go away and try and do it? And the is to switch from deriving velocity from samples of pressure to deriving velocity from the rate of change of breath.
Well, this is what the Strummer is supposed to do, but it's not finished.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, because then I can quite faithfully reproduce wind control.
Yes. Well, this is one of the Strummer is basically if you want, Mike, you can experiment with it with 2.0. So the Strummer in there is basically monophonic, so it should work for wind instruments.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you'll have to play, but I can send you a script that gives you an example of how to connect it in EigenD 1. which you can use to see how it connected in EigenD too. Because there's a bunch of parameters that you want to play with. Basically, you put a shaper after the breath signal so that you can get some compression going on the breath signal, and kind of create a derivative function of the breath signal so that it becomes more usable for velocity detection.
Sure.
And then you have to set up the strummer to say how long it has to take to actually detect the velocity, and then that will send out a typical pressure signal that you can use for velocity. So the finished version that's why it's called a strummer and not a blower, is that we actually, we started with the blower, which is what it is now, and but we figured out that that "Wish You Were Here" video that I made a couple of months ago, where I was using the percussion keys here to actually strum, that this is actually the same thing. That if you want to be activating keys on the courses of the Eigenharp with the percussion keys, it's the same as if a percussion key is one breath pipe, and based on the inclination, you can actually say as if you're playing this single course with a breath pipe, but you've got 5 of them with and then the percussion keys, which means that the strummer is actually a polyphonic blower. That's why we call it a strummer. Which is currently able to do only one voice, and which is going to be able to do as many voices as you want, so that you can start setting up real strumming behavior with the Eigenharp.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people hoping for that for a long time.
Yes, I know. Yes. Well, it's now that Workbench is there, I think it will start working on that.
That wasn't a shot, by the way. It was meant to reinforce the idea that that's a really great thing that's coming.
Yeah. It's. I think there will be a lot of. John has been talking about that. Now, this is not a promise, but we've been talking about since Workbench is out now, and we've still got a huge push to get it to stable. But it's there, meaning that we can start adding new agents and new functionalities again, and kind of focus more on that again, instead of having this huge lump of functionalities that were kept behind, and for a little while. It seems as not much was happening, but so yeah.
Meanwhile, in the background, you didn't get any sleep for 6 months.
Yeah. That's about it, right? Yeah, but I'm quite happy with. It's mostly Alistair that did the work on Workbench, though. We just did some testing. I'm very happy with what it's at. You guys hear that? It's probably is that you again, Drachika? Have you still got the same headset? Okay, no, I can't hear you. It seems that Google Plus doesn't allow me to mute someone anymore. But I can see a signal coming from you, Drachika, so I think it's... This hissing is coming from here. Yeah, now it's gone. Oh yeah, actually it asked me for confirmation to mute. Very difficult to see at the bottom there.
Geert, thanks for that link, by the way. And do they still have their sale on? Because it was an unbelievable price.
It was for 75% off, but I'm not sure that it's still the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, good string libraries are very hard to find. I'm wondering if there's actually someone doing an acoustic, a modeling plugin of strings.
I've never heard a good string model. The best one I've heard is the Applied Acoustics.
Yeah, which is a bit... don't like it that much. If PianoTeq would start, well, Modart would start putting their teeth into that would be cool, because their piano is just amazing. Oh, there he is.
Rehearsal over.
Hi everyone.
Hey, Antonio.
Yeah. How you guys doing?
Great. And you
Excellent.
had a good New Year and Christmas?
Yeah, it went well, peacefully.
Same here. Let's see. I like this thing. Turn off pitch bend here. Is a Rhodes with pitch bends. You can just have hours of fun with that. This is and PianoTeq. Thanks, by the way, Antonio, for having brought this up a couple of months ago. But I really like the instruments that are in there. It's because everything since it models the sounds, it is actually multi-timbral, which means that if you set it up to use 16 MIDI channels, then each note will send out pitch bend just for that note, or any kind of CC just for that note. So all the expression is tied to a specific note, and makes it just a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah.
I haven't bought the electric piano yet. I don't know how much is it, $60 or €60. It's gonna be for later.
Yeah, I'm still with the standard version also. Didn't buy any more, but I would like to. I have a Rhodes, I think from Sonic Couture, that I think it's nice also.
Yeah.
But now all the time gets to the workbench.
Have you created fun stuff with it?
All the spare time. I'm trying to with the things I know with Belcanto, and I apply them, trying to make some sense, and I think I pretty nailed it.
Cool. Well, if you've got some nice setups to share, don't hesitate.
Yeah, I have to put them out.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be recording. We're gonna do another release probably in a week or so. Just cleaning up some stuff that we didn't get to yet. But I'm gonna record a video with some short demo tutorial of building a Pico setup from scratch. It's
yeah, nice.
I think it's for Pico. Actually, when I was playing around with that, I think it's actually very useful for Pico players, the Workbench, because they've got only 18 keys. So being able to reconfigure everything and the purpose of the keys exactly as they wish with a visual interface, I thought it was very nice. Some people want if you for example. I was playing around with that, but I didn't save the setup because it's actually so easy to make. Just one instrument on the left side and another instrument on the right side, and then playing bass with this and start playing chords just on the right chords, and all of a sudden you've got a split in the Pico, which is not in the factory setup, and then I was using the switches here at the top and the bottom to switch octaves. And then you can basically get to the whole range, and just with 18 playing keys, play 2 instruments and reach all the octaves you want. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna record that as a demo video or sometime.
Nice.
I think it's pretty cool to be able to build that in 3 minutes and just plop, 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 draw, and put down all the agents, 2 outputs, and that audio unit, or whatever you want to sound from player up to the audio out, and that's it. And just create your own version of the instrument.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, what was the difference between the rack and the setup? Is a rack just any subset of a setup?
It's yeah.
Like,
it's
can
called,
I just go in and
it's called a
lasso
rig.
in the
It's called a
workbench and
rig.
name that?
Just to
Oh,
correct
I'm
you.
sorry,
Yeah,
rig,
it's okay.
rig, yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
I got the R part right.
Yeah, it's basically any collection of agents, and you decide again what will be the inputs and the outputs of the outer shell that is the rig, and then you put whatever you want in it, and then so what you do is it's treated as a regular agent. So, but instead of using Python or
Like a
C++
metadata.
to create it, you use the visual interface to at runtime define the inputs for it, the outputs for it. And then it's up to you to connect it up correctly inside. Meaning that you can do whatever you want, you can route it wherever you want. And once you've packaged that up, then it's just another file that's saved alongside the setup. And if you copy it around and people create a rig that uses the same name, it will automatically populate it, which is a hack at the moment. But the intention is, it's been designed for that you can just save it out and import it. And it will appear as a fully fledged agent that is ready to hook up to anything else. So another thing that we're probably going to do in the near future is because currently the setups are binary, and we're probably going to move that to XML soon, because it's much easier for us to maintain, much more visible for the users also. So
Right.
Yeah. No, I've been struggling with that since the beginning. Actually, since the factory setups that ship with the software, we check them into our version repository, and sometimes changes happen, and we don't realize who checked them in and who changed what. Where is that change coming from? But since the binary, you never notice what actually changed. So yes. It is high up on the list now, because it's not only annoying me.
A good example of an application for what Geert's talking about, and he mentioned it earlier, is to build a virtual analog synth out of parts that are pretty much already there. I mean, you've got oscillators, you've got filters, you've got envelopes. So you could build that into a rig, and you've got a great internal, highly controllable virtual analog synth. You just plug in anywhere.
Yes.
There's some nice extensions that I'm whining about, and people are hopefully going to write things like, instead of an AHSDR envelope, one with arbitrary steps in it, so that you can do stuff like that. I think with the filter, you could probably cobble together a multi-resonant filter as a rig. You probably could take two oscillators and do FM synthesis with them.
I think so, yeah, because I've been doing LFOs with the current oscillators, so
sure.
It just because it's all floating point, you can get it to any kind of.
So you could actually build most synths as rigs, right? You've got an oscillator. You can do additive synth. You just have a bunch of oscillators. You can do FM if you can interconnect the oscillator that way, and you could interconnect them. Just look at the top of your old DX7 and take those patterns.
So this is a little modular synth that I built. And this is just a bunch of oscillators. Those are agents that are native to EigenD, and they're connected together. And I wrote some stage tabs for that. I created some stage tabs for them to be able to easily control those. So you can you just connect them up, route them through a filter, and then they're going back.
Yeah,
out.
Dragica, that's the first thing I started playing with when I got my first little look at Workbench. I think we're spending Dragica's money.
Let me see. So this is the stage tab created for that. So you basically have your oscillators here at the bottom where you can change the gain. Well, it's an analog synth. I'm not going to start tweaking an analog synth now. But so those are connected to the parameters of the agents that you saw in Workbench, and this is just all built visually from the agents that are available. And as Mike says, I'm very certain that this is just going to explode in the coming months as developers start getting into this. And then I hope that
this was my missing from yesterday.
So you also have a 27-inch screen.
Yeah. and Workbench can fill that up. I've already put that in a notice or an improvement idea. I have to send that.
To have it full screen, you mean?
Yeah.
That's full screen. Shouldn't be difficult to do. We also have that for stage. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that drives me nuts with Workbench is I keep trying to scroll with a gesture on the Mac, and all I end up doing is zooming.
Right. Yes. Yeah, this should be configurable. But this is one of the things we decided is to do that later, to see how people interact with it and kind of get a good idea and feel of what the configuration points should be and what the idiomatic usages of positioning should be. Let's say, okay, I move over that particular part, so the tools should change to that. We figured that if we would decide to do that just by ourselves now, it would probably be totally wrong. So that will come in time. I should use it a bit with a laptop. It's been a while since I touched a laptop, actually. So. There you go.
A few of the Clubhouse recordings ago, I made some mention of the possibility of kind of multi-client EigenD. So you could have several Eigenharps going at once.
Yes, so it's something that has been part of the design, but that has not been fully realized in the implementation yet. Is that actually all the data that is sent between the agents that you saw in Workbench and all those wires are actually going through a network protocol that is locally short-circuited at this time. But it does mean that those can go over the network in the future. So yeah, it is something that would be totally fun, is to be able to play with a band, an orchestra, an Eigenharp orchestra that is aware of each other, and everyone could change the key at the same time, or only certain subsets could change key at the same time, or tempo could gradually increase for parts of the orchestra in sync and things like that. So that is definitely something that has been in there as part of the design from the beginning. Something that is already possible now is to connect several instruments inside a single EigenD on the same computer. So as you saw in that Workbench setup, let me just load this up again. So I can take my Pico. Let me share this. So just as I've got the alpha keyboard here, which is being detected by the alpha manager, I can create a pico manager. So the pico manager is here now. So as I connect to pico, just put this up. As I connect to pico now, you can see that the pico instrument just appeared here. So now I've got two instruments as different agents, and I can just start connecting stuff up. I can go to the same agents if I want to. I can have them control the same instruments, or even each other. If the pico wants to send out something that changes what the alpha does, it's also possible. So yeah.
If you separate that diagram into kind of functional input and the output side,
well,
can I tweak the output in real time?
Sorry, I missed that.
As I look at that diagram, my mind kind of separates it into two halves, the input side and the output side. So you just added another input dimension by supplementing with pico. And that could potentially, just as an example, go into the same audio unit.
Yes, for example, yes.
Could I tweak the audio unit specification? Like, is that wired to things in real time right now? So if I made some adjustments in the audio unit configuration, would I actually hear that if I were playing on my alpha?
So depends on what you change on the audio unit configuration. So any of the ports that are already there will react in real time and in fast land.
Yeah.
However, if you add new ports, it requires the plumbing to be redone, which means the connections to be remade between the agents that it's connected to, and that is a slow operation and quite expensive. So it does work in real time, and it will take like maybe 200 milliseconds to be done. But it's not something you will be modulating in real time while playing. So but yes, it detects new things that appear. An example for that, we don't have it here, but if you've got an audio unit, for example, you create the audio unit agent, right? But I can create an audio unit agent. I have to find one that does that. Just share screen again. So I've got the audio unit agent, which is empty, and by default it starts with with one audio channel. So based on the audio unit that I load, I think that Absinthe is actually Omnisphere sends out 8 channels. So it should be loading Omnisphere. Oh. I think it's spinning up my external. There it goes. So you see, they just opened up the other audio ports that Omnisphere supports. So 8 stereo pairs of audio ports, and they're there in real time available as the audio unit appears. Yes, an agent is capable of adding new inputs and outputs to real time, and you can tweak the values that come in, and you can tweak the values that have been sent out in real time. Or if you were in the actual implementer, you can of course tweak the values in real time inside the audio unit, inside the agent. Sorry. So yes, there's a strong. I can start feeling where you're going there, but there's a very strong accent on the Eigenharp, which is performance. Performance is a key area. So that during performance, the player is actually empowered, and that you're able to do whatever you're thinking of. Provided that you understand what is going on, and if you don't understand what's going on, that's good. Also, you might come up with something extremely cool.
Right.
Should decay have both on a single note or chord? What do you mean with that? One Eigenharp plays notes. Oh, right, yes, I remember that, Mike. Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
cool.
that's Sid Feld's gadget.
Yes, well, yeah. It is
So the interesting thing about that work he was doing was that it wasn't a matter of people playing together, like jamming. It was a matter of them collaborating on an individual sound and its evolution, and it has an interesting effect on the players.
Right. I can see that. Yes, it's going to be an exciting few years.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
just saw your note. That's cool.
I think I also stuck the link up there for John's interview,
Yes.
which is one of the earliest and one of the best.
Yeah, I agree. The Sonic State one, it is very good. It's a bit higher up. I'm gonna have to disconnect. It's time for me to get ready for the kids to go back from school.
Well, Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year to you all.
Yep.
See you next week on the forums.
Nice to meet
or
everybody.
Picos. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.